I'll do that.
Cheki, kwani hakuna leki ba?
What we are doing, we are just preparing for a presentation from 11:30. We are preparing for a presentation from 11:30. Let those members who are nominated to. Emmanuel, I don't know if you are getting me.
No, sir. I'm getting you, sir.
Yeah, for those who are to present, get ready. From 11:30, we start our lesson. We shall record this lesson so that we can use the recording to award you marks.
Mimi nilisema kwa last nini? Najua nikaa tuko attend juu. Tuliasimu venyewe. Presentation ya nini? Hii course hata ina groups. Represent.
Kupresent, sio? Acha niandike vizuri.
Nishajua. Nishajua. Alisemanga kitambo, alisema hii.
Sisi tuko na wasafiri plus wengi. Sikumbuki juu sikuwa.
Mwanzo huko akisemanga tutafika mahali pa present, ulikuwa hiyo lesson tulisoma kwa mahali ili represent mmoja kwa education, mmoja social work, mmoja ni crane, mmoja ni songa nyuma. Shida iko wapi?
Kwa kiti.
Globalization as the state society. So,
Mambo.
I think we can start. For those who have not muted their mic, please do so. Mute your mic. Mute your mic. For those who are presenting, I don't know who's the first one. Can you raise up your hand for the one who is going to present first? Daniel Wasilo, you are going to present. Maybe we can allow you. You can start, Daniel. Let me record this.
Okay, fine. I hope you are getting me.
Yes, we are getting you.
The EDA group you are given to talk about globalization in Africa. When talking about globalization, we must first understand the definition of globalization, which is the integration and interdependence of integration of economies throughout the world and integration of those economies. And these economies can be integrated through trade, financial flows, information, and exchange of technology. Some of the examples of this globalization include economic, financial, cultural, technological, and ecological globalization. We can now look at those examples. Ecological globalization. Ecological globalization simply means or is the development of trade systems within transactional actors such as corporations and NGOs. Those small national government offices or something like that. Alafu financial globalization, this can be linked with the rise of global systems with international financial exchange and monetary exchanges, e.g., for example, stock market. We have also cultural globalization, which refers to the interpenetration of cultures such as consequence. This means that nations adopt principles, beliefs, and customs of other nations, losing their unique culture to a unique globalized supernatural. We have political globalization, which refers to the development and growing of influence of international organizations such as the United Nations or World Health Organization. We have another one, which is the sociological globalization, which refers to the information moves almost in real time, together with the interconnection and interdependence of events and their consequence. Interdependence simply means these countries, they depend on each other. We have another one, which is technological globalization, which is the phenomenon by which millions of people are interconnected via platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Skype, and YouTube. You are normally told that today, in today's world, the world is like a global village, which different communities can easily get in touch with each other through these platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have geographical globalization. This is a new organization and hierarchy of different regions, the world that is constantly changing. Another one is economical liberalization, which simply means the removal of trade tariffs and quotas in these interconnected regions of the world. Another thing that we can look under globalization, we normally have this thing that globalization is seen as the move from political colonialism to economic colonialism in Africa, whereby initially before we had to vote for our independence, we were ruled by those Europeans, and so after that, nowadays we are seeing that we are ruled economically, or the African mind is colonized economically. I think I can only contribute to that, and I have finished my presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, for that presentation. Now, Ekesa.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
here.
Yes, take the floor.
Yes, as BCom group, we are given to discuss on topic 9, that is Millennium Development Goals, MDGs. And first, we would like to have the meaning of MDGs. These are the targets which are being used in the deadline of 2015 as agreed by the UN nations. And so we go direct to the MDGs that were being put there and agreed. That is, number 1 is eradication of extreme poverty that can be achieved as a country in Kenya. And this, the country, as the government, will invest heavily in infrastructure, increase level of employment, and invest in agriculture fully so that to attain this eradication. And this in point 1, that is eradication of extreme poverty, more is emphasized on agricultural production. The people and the government at large is being urged to dwell more in agriculture so that the food security will be more as we do away with that. Then number 2 is the country must aim the achievement of universal primary education, and this by providing globally competitive quality education through training and research for sustainable development. The way institutions like the universities are doing, they are giving some training to teachers, and also they are making some research for this education, universal primary education, to be more effective and influence to a country. Then number 3 is the promotion of gender equality, and this is done through the eliminating gender disparity in all forms of life in society, that is which is emphasized. And this we have seen as the gender equality, this being done through how the women, we give the women chance to lead as a country. The way the governors, e.g. in Governor Anne Waiguru, is being given a chance to rule or to lead as a leader in a country. And number 4 is improvement of maternal health care and treatment. And this point is so emphasized in these MDGs, and this is like the main MDG. And it was being realized when the most vulnerable group in the society facing various challenges and problems. And this has been altered, especially in childbirth. And thus the healthcare, e.g., the antenatal and postnatal care is being financed by the government so that to create awareness in the use of like family planning methods for the health of a mother and care of children. And this one is more emphasized and will be encouraged the way government is doing to provide of sustained healthcare by adding caregivers and also ensuring the payment of the caregivers is well. Number 5 is to do away with child mortality rate in society, thus to prevent the death of many children who are below 5 years. And this one has been achieved through the provision of adequate healthcare, especially maternity and parental, as well as postnatal care in developing countries like Kenya. And this has been influenced through children immunization. Number 6 is combating communicable diseases and transmittable diseases like HIV and malaria, among others. And this one has been done or has been did away through provision of ARVs, which are being used to sustain government funding. Number 7 is there is need to ensure that the environment is clean. We as the Kenyan government is clean so as to work well and to meet our daily needs. And also it has been called off the integration of the principles of sustainable manner that will prevent the degradation and lack of resources for the future use. The last MDG is to encourage development of global partnership for development. So as a country, the people and countries need to join hands with other governments through exchange of knowledge and also through trade and finance in various fields. And this will increase our technology on how to deal with the global partnership development. And more of it is that these MDGs, failures of MDGs, number one.
Sir, where are
is
we?
that failures of MDGs, number one is education within global South and North South. And this, when emphasized on this, will bring an effective way in the country. That's all. I have finished my presentation.
Oh, that is good. That's a good presentation. Let us hear from Anna Cieno.
Yes.
Yeah, continue.
Mr. What are we presenting, please?
I don't know. Let those who are presenting present.
Sir, I had a point of clarification.
Yes.
Like for Daniel, he started with globalization, and then under globalization, he had not finished.
Can you finish, please, Anne?
I would like to give me a chance so that I could be posting the question according to the topic and as they continue, because I have the questions according to the
Can
group.
you share? You see, you have members, even they don't know what is going on. Can you just tell your members what is going on?
Okay, Daniel introduced what globalization is. Then he also talked about forms of globalization, and what was remaining was the advantages of globalization, which he had not tackled. And that's why we had a member who now went to another topic, which was Millennium Development Goals. So I was requesting that we get another member from a group from ABA so that he continue with the advantages of globalization before we now move on to Millennium Development Goals. So I'll be directing them as they continue.
Do you have such a member? Do you have such a member do you have someone with that presentation?
Yes, they're just, yes.
Yeah, could please, if someone has that presentation, to take the floor.
I have it.
That is Sarah. Yes, Sarah, continue.
So I'm going to discuss about the advantages of globalization. One is trade. Globalization facilitates exchange of goods and services, leading to economic growth and increased market access for businesses. Two is cultural exchange. It promotes exchange of cultural ideas and practices, fostering a greater understanding among different cultures. Number three is access to information. Globalization has enhanced internet and digital communication, which enable rapid sharing of information across borders. Number four is globalization has improved the living standard of many people through the creation of job opportunities. Number five, it enhances collaboration. Through global changes such as climate change, health crisis, and security issues, it has encouraged countries to work together for mutual benefits. Number six, it has improved infrastructure by improving transportation, communication, and energy system, which enable people to migrate from one country to another or one place to another. The next one is foreign direct investment. Globalization has encouraged a developing nation often attracts FDI, that is foreign direct investment, which bring capital, technology, and stimulate local industry. That was it. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, can we now move to
Yes.
part leader? Yeah.
Yes, another question
Yeah.
was discuss why African leaders fear globalization. So if any member has
Yeah. I'm here.
question, yes, continue please.
So the question was asking why African leaders fear globalization. The reason why the African leaders may fear globalization, yes, it has a mixed reaction. And one, it might be economic vulnerability and exploitation. Under that, we can talk of dependency on external markets, where many African economies rely on exporting raw materials, making them vulnerable to price fluctuations in global markets that can make them fear globalization. Then also under economic vulnerability, we can talk something of an equal trade agreement where globalization can perpetuate an equal trade relationship where African countries export low value raw materials and import high value materials, manufactured goods. You're aware that our country like ours, we can only export raw material like coffee, then ikienda huko majuu and it come back, actually it goes at a higher price. Then we have foreign control of resources. Globalization, global cooperation often dominates key sector in Africa countries, limiting local control and ownership of resources. So those who are the economic vulnerability and exploitation. Then under cultural erosion, we can talk of loss of local identity. So African leaders may fear globalization as the spread of global media and cultural norms can erode traditional African values, language, and practices. So when your norms or when our norms as African are being eroded, that can make our leaders to fear globalization as they represent us. Then we have westernization pressure. Globalization often prioritizes Western culture and values, which can overshadow local cultures. That's self-explanatory. Then we have weak institutional capacities, where inability to compete. Many African countries lack the infrastructure, technology, and skill workforce to compete in global economy. That can also make us to fear globalization. Then we have regulatory challenges. We can talk of weak institutions may struggle to regulate multinational corporations ineffectively, leading to exploitation or environmental degradation. And that can as well make our leaders fear globalization. Then we have the historical part of it, the historical exploitation and neocolonialism. We can talk of debt dependency, where international financial system often leave African countries trapped in cycle of debt to global institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Then under historical exploitation, we can talk of legacy of colonialism. Globalization can be seen as a continuation of colonial economic system, where African countries are integrated into the global economy in ways that benefit wealthy nations. Lastly, we can talk of social inequality. Under social inequality, we can talk of widening gaps, and we can say globalization often benefits urban elites while marginalizing rural communities, exhibiting inequalities within African societies. Then we have job displacement under social inequality, where the influx of cheaper foreign goods and services can hurt local industries and lead to job losses. Then in environmental concern, we can talk of resource exploitation, where global demand for African resources can lead to over-extraction and environmental degradation. So African leaders may fear globalization as the Western people Normally, they come for our raw materials, as I mentioned earlier. Raw material like gold, and then after extracting the raw materials, you find that they are big. What can I put? They are big dams or rolls, which they need to refill. But since they feel that we are more inferior than them, then also we can talk of climate change vulnerability, where global economic activities contribute to climate change, which disrupt effect African countries, that can affect African countries. And that's my presentation on why African leaders may fear the globalization. Majorly, there were 7 main points: that of environmental concern, social inequality, historical exploitation and neocolonialism, weak cultural erosion, and economic vulnerability and exploitation. Thank you.
Party leader, and
Yes.
maybe to add on that point of environmental concerns, as a geographer, rapid industrialization and resource extraction driven by global demand can lead to significant environment degradation. But as African leaders, we are concerned about long-term impact of globalization on our natural resources and ecosystem. Hence, inawafanya they fear that globalization. Alafu on that climate change, globalization contributes to climate change, which disappropriately affects African countries. Leaders fear that their nations may bear and brunt of environmental challenges caused by global economic activities, despite contributing minimally to global emissions. So I think pia hiyo inaweza ikawaka hapo hivi.
Okay, thank you so much, our able teachers. The last question on this topic about globalization is that globalization is a double-edged sword. Discuss. Anybody
Yes, I want to talk about that. I come from EDA OD. So I want to talk about globalization as a double-edged sword. And this was regarded because globalization has both positive and negative impact. So I want to start with the positive one. And I'll start with the economic growth and development. So globalization facilitated international trade, leading to increased economic growth. And that is, we are talking about production of goods and services where they have a comparative advantage, boosting productivity and efficiency. Number two, I'll talk about access to resources and technology. We have nations who can access advanced technologies and innovation from around the world, enhancing the production processes and improving quality of life. Number three, I'll talk about cultural exchange and diversity. So globalization, cultural exchange, allowed the sharing of ideas, values, and traditions, and these enhance mutual understanding and tolerance among different cultures. I'll talk about number four, that is improved living standards. According to that is globalization has improved living standards, that is in the sector of healthcare, education, and overall that is quality of life has just improved. Another one, I'll talk about, let me see that. Where is it? So I'll talk about the negative ones. The negative impacts of globalization. Okay, the negative ones is economic disparities. So we talk about globalization as drive economic growth in often, where there is inequalities both within and between the countries. we see the wealth tends to concentrate in developed nations, leaving undeveloped countries as a disadvantage. Then number 2, we can talk about environmental degradation. We have increased production and consumption. That is, the resources may lead to that of exploitation and to environmental damage. The demand for resources can often result to deforestation, pollution, and depletion of natural habitats. I'll talk about political tensions and sovereignty issues. So we see globalization leading to tensions as countries struggle to maintain sovereignty in the face of powerful multinational corporations and in an international institution that may influence local policies. So I think I'm done.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
That's nice, Juma. Yes,
Yes, hello.
And continue.
Okay, thank you for those who have presented about globalization. I think we are through that topic. And please, I urge those who are, I beg you, though, if you have not muted, please mute your mic so that we can continue well. So we are now moving on to another topic, which is Millennium Development Goals. And I think our teacher had introduced in this group as we started after Daniel presented, there was another teacher who presented about Millennium Goals, and he gave the meaning of what the Millennium Development Goals are. Then he also gave us failures. So I would like another teacher in this group to present about the achievements of Millennium Goals, and we will be have done with the Millennium Development Goals.
Excuse me. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not a teacher, I'm a manager BCom.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were given that topic of Millennium Development Goals to discuss.
Yes.
So can I take this chance to ask my managers to give us the questions?
Yes, you're allowed.
Yes, thank you. So if there's any manager in the house, please feel free, or any person to ask any question in Millennium Development Goals. Welcome. Is there any member who has any question on MDGs? Or if they are not there, then let me conclude on advantages of Millennium Development Goals. These advantages, number 1 is improved education. The way we are seeing, the education has been improved. Now the CBC, CBC has become now, it's like education has been improved alike. Then also number 2 is that we have an improved maternal health. We see the health services are now improved and they're working well, and also the payments are well to motivate them to do that work. Then we have also number 3 is the reduced poverty. When we see as a country, the Millennium has been assisted us to reduce in poverty. The way the percentage of previous years says that it was 50% of poverty. Now when the research tells us that it has been reduced to 14%, and that's, as a country, we are moving on well. And also number 4, we have improved quality of life. The way people are living in this country, it's a show of that the life they're living is well. And also we have the disadvantages. Something that has advantage also has its disadvantage. So the disadvantages of Millennium Development Goals, number one is women are still discriminated in access to work. For example, now women are not given a chance, are not fully given a chance to participate in like political or in politics the way the country needs to have 2/3 of the percentage of women to participate in politics. And number two, we have participation in private and public decisions making. It is hard for the women to participate in decision making in this country. Please, that person who has not muted. Can I continue?
Yes, continue.
So, and this also, the Millennium
Pardon, 22.
Point 2 on advantages or disadvantages.
Disadvantages.
On advantage point 1, I said improved educations. Then number 2 was improved maternal health. That is, the healthcare services are being improved in the country. Then number 3 was reduced poverty. Number 4 was improved quality of life. Then we had the disadvantages of MDGs. That's when we get the discrimination of women to work. The women or ladies are still being discriminated to work. They are not given a first priority also to work as the people of this country. Then there we have also efforts that made the Millennium Development Goals to be achieved. Number 1 was controllable of HIV and AIDS. And this, according to the research, the 40% of this has been eradicated to the ARVs, and it has been declining as we are moving with life. Then number 2 was environmental sustainability. As a country, we are focusing to have a well and developed sustainable environment to acquire necessary and clean environment as well. Number 3 is we have gender equality. The way we are seeing the gender equality is being comprehended and also is being working on, and to the vision of 2030 will be well analyzed and maintained well. So to that point, I don't know if anybody has any question that topic of Millennium Development Goals, please.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, ask.
As manager, I know you did a very vigorous research on that your question.
Yes.
And I would like, as manager, are you sure these Millennium Development Goals are working and encouraged in Kenya by the Kenyan government? Are you sure? How sure are you? Can you give a clear example showing the current currently out the Millennium Development Goals, are they working in Kenya, or is there any part of them that has been achieved?
Yes, I've gotten your question well. I don't know where are the managers to assist me in answering these questions. Or can I call? Yes, hello. I'll
And
answer your
maybe to add to that question,
no one is adhering to it.
Mwalimu,
So the way you have asked,
Mr. Manager,
has
Mr.
Kenya
Manager,
achieved these MDGs currently? The answer is yes. Kenya has made its progress on this MDG as was agreed in 2015 or by 2015. And this one, the way you see the gender equality, in the government now we have women that have been given a chance to also work. And this is a true reflection that Kenya has made it. And these examples are being given to governors. There are some counties that have governors, e.g. the county of Kirinyaga, we have Anne Wariguru, and Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga. They are the gender equality. Now the government is saying that we must have this gender balance and gender equality. And also point number 2 is combating with disease.
Okay,
And
thank you.
as a
Thank you,
Kenya,
Noah. Noah, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just
Yes.
want to let all of us know that the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, were to be attained by, the target was 2015. So they were given about 15 years from 2000s. When you talk about the Millennium Development Goals, these were the targets that were agreed upon by the United Nations members by 2000. They were supposed to achieve these targets by 2015. So as to the question whether the Kenyan government is doing it or not, I would like to say that we just have to evaluate up to 2015, because by 2015, these Millennium Development Goals were transformed to what we call the SDGs. And of course, they were also taken up by the Vision 2030. I hope we have somebody who is going to present on Vision 2030 that the Kenyan government is now endeavoring to achieve by 2030. We are now 2024. So I want to appreciate what Noah has presented on the Millennium Development Goals. And we can only evaluate whether they were achieved or not up to 2015, because that was the target year, 2015. So thank you so much for your presentation. I'm sorry for coming in late. I had a meeting. I was having another meeting somewhere, but now I'm on board. I wish to request that the next person takes up the mantle from Noah Wekesa. And let's have the next person presenting on the next topic, please.
Okay, thank you, our able managers. The next topic is about Vision 2030, and this goes to the group of EDS. So anybody from EDS group to start on Vision 2030.
We are giving 5 minutes. 5 minutes for every presentation so that we are able to cover the other topics, please. 5 or 10 minutes for presentation, interrogation 5 minutes, and then we proceed to another topic. Kindly. Thank you.
Yes, hakuna mtu alisoma.
If we talk about the Millennium Development Goals for Vision 2030, one thing we have to know that the Millennium Development Goals were set that ran from 2000.
I wish that we go as directed. We are now on Kenya Vision 2030. Kindly. Kenya Vision 2030.
Okay, if the EDS are not ready, anybody who has researched about Vision 2030 can direct us, please.
The Kenya's Vision 2030. It is Kenya's Vision 2030 is the country's latest development plan, which is an ambitious blueprint covering the period from 2008 to 2030. Its main aim is to transform Kenya into an industrialized nation, providing high-quality life to citizens with its people in the middle-income class by 2030. It's simply the new long-term development blueprint for the country. It is guided by the three pillars, which is the number one, the political pillars or political governance. Number two is the social pillar. Then the last one is the economic pillar, which deals with agriculture, health, water, and environment. We have also the factors that could make the Kenya's Vision 2030 become Vision 3020 is number one, the political instability, corruption, economic challenges, infrastructure deficits, education and skills gap, social inequality, environmental issues, technological barriers, health crisis, and lastly, the global economic conditions. We also have how the Kenya stand in benefit with the realization of the Vision 2030. Number one is the economic growth. Number two, we have improved infrastructure, social development, environmental sustainability, regional integration, innovation and technology, and lastly, poverty reduction. We also have what the societies in Kenya stand to gain if Vision 2030 is successfully implemented. We have number one, economic prosperity, improved infrastructure, quality education, healthcare improvements, social equity, technological advancements, environmental sustainability, enhanced quality of life, regional influence, and lastly, cultural government. We have then lastly, what should be done to achieve the Vision 2030? Number one, strengthen the government, invest in infrastructure, enhance education and skills training, promote economic diversification, encourage public-private partnerships, focus on healthcare, support technological innovation, implement sustainable practices, foster inclusivity, and lastly, strengthen regional integration. That's all what I have. Thank you.
Karibu.
Okay, thank you. Anybody who has a question? Okay, if there is no question, we have another group known as BCR, and I would like to welcome anybody from the group of BCR in the realization. This question about the realization of 2030 in Kenya is a mirage. Discuss. The realization of 2030 is a mirage. Discuss. Anybody from BCR group?
Mtu amehaka akaunti yako ama ni wewe umepost huyu mtoto?
Tafadhali, you have to mute your mic. Mute your mic. Okay, if there is nobody from this BCR group, let's have a volunteer to direct us in this question the realization of Vision 2030 in Kenya is a mirage. Discuss.
Anne,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes,
I
I'm
want, I
hearing you.
want to I want to appreciate the presenter on was just done on Kenya Vision 2030. Now, I want to request that you mute if you've not been given the platform. Kindly mute so that we proceed with our lesson. Now, whoever has presented on Vision 2030 has done the summary of what was supposed to be covered. And basically he has given us the definition of the Vision 2030, whereby it is a blueprint that endeavors to propel the country, to a net level country by the year 2030. And it is anchored on the 3 pillars, that is economic, social, and political pillar. Now, it's important to know that this realization, therefore, the Kenyan government has to put measures in place for it to realize. And of course, the presenter of the topic has highlighted some of the things, some of the measures the Kenyan government has to put in place for the Kenyan government to realize this Vision 2030. When you talk about the realization of Vision 2030 being a mirage, it only means that what are the impediments? What are the challenges facing the Kenyan government towards the realization of Vision 2030? And of course, the presenter has just highlighted some of them, including matters, the climate change, political instability, corruption, among others. So that question is related to what the presenter did on the impediments or the challenges facing Kenyan government on the realization of Vision 2030. And that is why we are asking ourselves, are we going to realize Vision 2030 by as given as a target by Vision 2030? And we are saying it might be impossible because of the so many challenges that the Kenyan government is facing. Look at what we are experiencing today in Kenya, matters corruption. So you find that what is meant for the development of the country, maybe in promoting agriculture, the money that was meant for the same, people are looting. The people who are in charge are looting this money. And therefore, it will be very difficult for the Kenyan government to realize. I wish that you mute. Thank you. So we are saying it will be impossible for Kenyan government to realize, just as we have already talked about the Millennium Development Goals, and we are questioning ourselves, we are asking ourselves, did we realize Millennium Development Goals by 2015? And to a large extent, we are saying no, because we are still grappling with the challenges that were supposed to have been tackled by 2015. Matters, hunger, matters, pollution, among others. And therefore, today, where we are, that is 2024, we are just like 5 or 6 years down the line to realize, to reach the target year, 2030. And as it stands, if the Kenyan government does not take in the precautions to curb corruption, to ensure that there is stability in the country, then the realization of this vision remains a mirage, that it won't be realized. So as much as that question is concerned, I want to say that whoever that has presented has already tackled it. It's only that the framing of the question, but then whoever that presented has already tackled that question. So thank you so much. So as you look at that topic on Kenya Vision 2030, it is important that you look at about 4 aspects. First of all, you have to understand what is this Vision 2030. Number 2, you have to look at the pillars of Vision 2030 is highlighted, the social, the economic, what the economic pillar entails, what the political pillar entails, and what the social pillar entails. And number 3, look at what the Kenyan government is supposed to do for it to realize the Vision 2030. And number 5, what are the challenges facing the realization of Vision 2030? And finally, and finally, look at, of course, we've said you look at the challenges, but how will Kenyan government, of course, now benefit if we realize Vision 2030, which of course has been already tackled by the presenter. So thank you so much. I wish that we also give an opportunity to the next person to present. And of course, as you do your presentation by the end of this lesson, and next week I'll do an overview of what we have done in our presentations today. So I'll be tackling about three aspects next week. But today we are allowing you to make your presentation. So I think that one is done. And maybe you can usher in the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. The next group is BSW, and I would like them to present about the devolved government in Kenya. BSW, anybody from BSW to direct us or to lead us in what they mean the devolved government in Kenya. If the BSW group are not ready, anybody who has researched about devolved government, please.
We are here as BSW. I am going to represent about the devolved government in Kenya. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yeah, proceed.
Yes. First of all, we shall start with the definition of devolution, which involves the transfer of the functions, resources, and powers to the subnational levels of the government. And then after looking at what is devolution, we shall be able to look at the purpose of the devolution, which is to promote participatory democracy and sustainable development for the benefit of all citizens. I hope there everyone has get. After that, we shall move at the we shall be able to move at the structure and the system of devolved government in Kenya. So first, we shall look at the national government, which consists of the president and the deputy president. Then secondly, we shall look at the national executive, which consists of the cabinet secretaries, attorney general, director of the public services, and the national government, which consists of the Senate, Speaker plus 7 seats. National Assembly, which consists of the Speaker plus the 349 seats. And lastly, we shall look at the people of Kenya and the judiciary services. So we shall be able to look at the advantages of devolution in Kenya. So the first advantage is that supports economic and social growth. With devolution system, it is easier to achieve growth both at the national and the county development. Then the second advantage is that equitable distribution of resources. Most of the resources, including the public institutions, were in the major urban centers and cities. But with devolution, each county has equal chances of growth as the share of the resources is equal. Another advantage is diversity and inclusion. As we can look today, all people, include the marginalized and the minorities, can reap the benefits of self-governance and manage their development affairs. Then another one we shall be able to look at. So the fourth advantage of devolution is national unity. Through devolution, we are able to reduce the power of the central government and distribute it equally among the counties. The developed system hopes to achieve the national unity. Through the distribution of the powers, we are able to achieve what we call national unity. Then the fifth advantage of devolution government in Kenya is that it leads to democracy and accountability. People at the grassroots get to choose their leaders and directly participates in decision-making process, making room for accountability and democracy. Then the last advantage of devolution government in Kenya, or the devolved government in Kenya, is that informed decision-making. Decisions made at the county level focuses more on the local needs, on how the local needs can be reached at. Then lastly, I will talk about the disadvantages of devolution in Kenya. So the disadvantages of devolution in Kenya is that it is expensive. The introduction of more seats, we are talking of the 67 senators and 47 governors, and to about 2,526 members of assemblies, which means that the taxpayers is at least since the wage budget is increased significantly. Then another disadvantage is that non-uniform development. Some counties such as Nairobi, Nakuru, and Mombasa already are ahead to start the development twice. These counties have better infrastructure and public utilities, as well as opportunities for employment and investment. And when you find out that, it means that it will take extra efforts and some years for other counties to catch up with such cities. When you look at the city of Nairobi, it may grow sooner than the other cities like the city of Kakamega, Eldoret. So let's move to another disadvantage, that is duplication of roles. Currently, more people are doing the same job. Therefore, the chances of misuse of power and wasting resources are high. When we look at between 2014 and 2016, Kenya witnessed a lot of back and forth Senate. For some, it is hard to distinguish between the role of senators and the MPs. Then the fourth advantage is that mismanagement of funds. Means that some county governments for the counties to count for the money allocated. Then lastly, representing my group, is that also local corruption, clientelism, and national disunity, which has increased at the county. Additionally, local areas with poor resources may be disadvantaged from other counties and may require more resources from national government. And that is all about devolution. Maybe if I may be given time, I want to look at the challenges facing devolution in Kenya. Any question?
You can still look at them.
Okay, thank you. Let me look at the challenges facing devolution in Kenya. So when we talk about the challenges facing devolution in Kenya, we have several positive impacts of devolution, as we have looked at the advantages and in Kenya, and several problems which inhibits its implementation fully. So some of the challenges include the rough transition process, which I will say that over the last couple of years, Kenya have been spectators in the pool and push between the national and the county governments regarding the mandates of both and the allocation of the resources. So the county government wants to get the resources more, and the national government wants also to get more resources. So which sometimes back council of the government pointed and accusing finger at the Senate for delaying the transition process. Ni kama sahi unapata all the civil workers wanacheleweshwa kupata mshahara. It is because of devolution. So lastly, I will talk also at another challenge is human resource gaps. What is the point of having resources? You may ask yourself. When the people in charge cannot manage the resources we have, well, this is the problem facing most of the counties. In fact, the hiring process of county executives and other officials are questionable. So some county governments seem to be rewarding allies are friends, yeah, rather than appointing a professional to get the job done. Then lastly, another challenge is lack of resources and capacity for efficient service delivery. So the county has a problem in the management of current resources, as its salaries and wages account for the significant portion of the county budgets, therefore compromising other development efforts. Then the last fourth point, just a minute, the last fourth point is fiscal challenges. While the national and the county legislative oversees the budgeting process, the National Treasury still has a lot of power and control over the fiscal policy. The county government has not come up with the system or measures to handle county treasury operation. When we talk about the fiscal challenges, we are talking about anything in an appertain pesa. So lastly, I'll look at inclusion is still a problem, or which is a challenge of devolution. So ethnicity still plays a major role in securing votes and representation in the counties. Some minority communities in areas such as Migori, Turukana, and Samburu fell left out with the devolution. Also, the participation of special groups such as the disabled, youth, and women has not increased significantly as a result of devolution. Thank you for listening, and that is the end of that presentation.
That is excellent, Smiyu. You've done it so well.
Thank you.
Well-researched presentation. Maybe before you quit, Smiyu,
yes,
there is an area that you didn't handle. You talked of the structure of the devolved system of government.
Yeah.
You only mentioned about the national functions, the national government, and of course the functions that remained with the national government. I wish that you also highlight the devolved functions.
The devolved function.
Welcoming Anne to take up from there.
Sorry. So do I look at the devolved function at the county government or?
Yes. Just mention them. You can out.
Okay, thank you.
By outlining.
County government, which includes the governor and the deputy governor, and we have what we call the county executive, which includes the executive committee members, and which means that the committee members cannot exceed 1/3 of seats in the county assembly. And the county assembly number of seats is given based on the number of awards in the county, and lastly, the people of Kenya. Maybe something remaining, sir?
Sir, I can help Simiyu.
Okay, thank you. So maybe let me talk about the advantages of the county government. Sorry, just a minute.
I'm saying,
Yes.
let me tackle this part of devolved function where Dr. asked you to handle.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Do it.
The devolved functions include health services, agriculture, county transport, trade development, early childhood education, that is the ECD, and local infrastructure and public works. That's the devolved functions with the county government. Thank you. May proceed.
So can we say that education sector is fully devolved? Maybe a reaction from the presenters, and not just me, you and the other presenter, maybe another person from the group. Can we say, therefore, that education sector is fully devolved?
Can I try that?
Please.
I can say that education sector is not fully devolved because currently the only devolved part of education sector is the ECD part, the early childhood education. Because as you can see in the country now, even the lecturers striked. So it was not on the burden was not on the county government side, but it was on the national government side. So we can say only the ECD part has been devolved to the county, but the other ones, the primary, secondary, and higher education like university, are still under the national government. Thank you.
Point of correction.
And you can take up.
Okay, thank you. As we started with, began by looked at globalization. We're supposed to look at failed states.
There is some echo from your end. And
okay. I'm saying as they began by talking about the globalization. We were supposed to be the states in Somalia. So I would like to invite the BCE group to take us through the Somali characteristics of a failed state, then Somali study, then lastly new development in Somalia. In brief, please, somebody.
We are not getting you.
Okay, if I'm getting Anne, there are two aspects that you've not looked at. Are you getting me now?
Yeah, at least.
We had those ones that were supposed to present. Maybe Anne, you can mute for a moment. Anne, okay, kindly, thank you. And the other members, I wish that we mute. Okay, thank you. So there is this group that was supposed to handle the failed states in Africa. Of course, you have to begin with the definition of failed states, then characteristics, and the case study here is Somalia. So we want to give about 5 to 7 minutes. Hello? Hello? Ibrahim Chumbe?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Let me look at the characteristics of a failed state. I don't know whether we had because of the echo. Can I continue?
Getting you.
Yeah, please. Now, kindly, maybe Chumbe, just a minute. I would like to request that all of us we mute. Let us mute so that we give ample time to the presenters. We just have like one to go. I don't know if you're getting me. I'm saying I'm going to allow Chumbe to make his presentation. And I wish that all of us will mute so that we give him ample time to present. So Chumbe, you can now unmute, then present.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. This is, I am representing EDE group. We are looking at the characteristics of failed states in Africa. And that was question one. Question two was to look at Somali as a case study in form of failed state. And question three, it was on measures Somali has taken to reform itself. So I will start with the characteristics of failed state in Africa, and I'm going to define a failed state. A failed state is a country where the government has little or no control over its territory, lack legitimacy, and cannot provide basic services or security to its population. When we look at the territories, we have three types of territory in a country. We have water territory, we have air, and we have land, the normal boundaries that link to other nations. So those territories have to be under 24/7 surveillance. But when the state has been declared as a failed state, no control is there. So characteristics of a failed state includes political instability. When a country faces political instability, sometimes it emerges during transition and it takes a long time. This disagreement widespreads and becomes uncontrollable. Therefore, the country plunges itself into havocs. Things get spill off, like people start losing life, then looting, and so many other things take place, and the government will be unable to control. Let us look at the example.
You're on good track, Chumbe. Maybe I just wish that you just list them, outline because of the time factor. Kindly just outline them, and the members will have to, maybe you can still share the notes or refer them so that they can read more. Maybe just give us the highlights. You have about 7 minutes to go. Please
okay,
proceed.
We have political instability, we have corruption, we have widespread poverty, we have conflict, then we have lack of state authority in key areas, like in various ministries. Therefore, another one is to look at the case of Somali
a case study in terms of failed state. We have political instability. The country lacks security. We have humanitarian crisis. Then we also have corruption and lawlessness. Then steps Somalia has to make so that it can reform. Formation of federal government. It formed a federal government in 2012. It also adopted constitution in 2012. It also held an election in 2022. And it also trying to fight corruption. That's under government reformation. Then under security, it has come up with AMISON. It's being supported with United Nations to come up with AMISON army. And also Somali's army is now available, is taking shape. Then we have improved humanitarian assistance like infrastructures, healthcare, among others. Then another one is international relation, like IGADI. It's now getting good relationship with the other nations. Then we have social development. Now education is also taking shape in Somalia. Thank you. Is
Thank
it
you,
okay?
Chumbe. Yeah, it's okay, Chumbe. Thank you so much for your presentation. Of course, you have talked about what a failed state is. And you've talked of the lack of legitimacy for a nation, the lack of sovereignty, among others. And you've highlighted some of the features of a failed state. So thank you so much. And we've given Somalia as one of the states which is regarded today as a failed state. And of course, it has the characteristics, just the ones you mentioned about what a failed state is. Now, you have also mentioned the areas of progress. Sometimes we call them the areas of hope in Somalia. From where you sit, you find that Somalia today has an elected president. There is some bit of stability in Somalia. There was a formation of federal government in Mogadishu, which was peaceful. But of course, the challenge of Al-Shabaab still remains a big problem to Somalia. And of course, today, Somalia has an elected president, just as you have highlighted. So that's very important, class, and maybe you'll be looking at some of the salient features, particularly when you refer to Somalia, when you talk of a government being in exile, when you talk about the rampant insecurity. How was it in Somalia by then? And especially the years between 1966 to 1994. So look at the features of a failed state in regard to Somalia during that particular time. And you'll be able to ascertain or to prove that indeed Somalia was a failed state. But of course, there are some areas of improvement. Now, I don't know if Kenya can be declared a failed state today. I don't know. Maybe I can get reaction from members. Do you think Kenya is a failed state?
No. Not really.
Of course, with the justifications, why do you think Kenya is a failed state or not a failed state?
I think, Doctor, Kenya
Yes.
is almost getting there.
Sure.
There's indicators.
In the case of Ruto,
look at the economic side. of Kenyan government, political styles of Kenya.
Okay. I want to allow other members to respond to that question, but of course with justifications. Maybe you can unmute and respond to that question, whether Kenya is a failed state or not. Are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you can respond to that question, please.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
According to my opinion. Hello, sir.
Yes. You're
According to
loud
my
and clear.
opinion, according to my opinion, Kenya is not a failed state because we may find that when we are looking about Somalia as a failed state, we found that many refugees of Somalia are in Kenya. Next, when we talk about security, we have that Kenya is secure because it has Kenya defense forces that may fight enemies such as Al-Shabaab.
Let's get another person. Thank you so much. Another person to react on that.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
From here, I can
Yes,
see.
proceed.
Yes, Doctor, Kenya is not a failed state because we have a stable government. Yeah, in terms of the security of the country, we have KDF, we have we have air forces. Where are you?
I wish to welcome Anne. Is it Anne Atieno?
Yes. Yes.
The chair of the session. Where are you?
Hello.
Anne? Yes.
Yes. Okay. I would like to add another point. I would like to argue about whether Kenya is going to is somehow going to be termed as a failed state or not. One, corruption. For the case, there is that the mismanagement of funds. For example, in the case of Anne Waiguru, the case of NYS, that the amount of money that was reported to be missing, and it was it was Anne Waiguru who, I can't say that Dan who took, but it was reported that he was involved. She was involved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anne. And my question to you is, are we done with the, maybe without mentioning this politician?
Correction, sir.
Thank you. I've already given my direction that whenever we are.
Okay, Doctor.
Yes.
I have a presentation. I have a additional here.
About?
Okay, I may say that if actually Kenya, we are almost failing because of if we are going to fight a corruption and ethnicity, we find that we are not going to fail. And also, when you find history of Kenya, we find that if a person talks the truth, he will be pulled out. So if we are going to fight corruption and ethnicity, we find that Kenya will never fail. Thank you.
Great, Sarah. I wish to ask Anne, are we done with the presentations of the day?
Yes, Doctor, we are done.
Now, may I give some direction? So today we are not going to have our takeaway, our online cut, but we shall have it next week on Wednesday, as from 6. Is it usually 6 or 5?
5.
It is. Okay, so we shall have our cut next week on, and of course it will be the final one It will be a final one, and I'm going to set on the following. It will be out of, I think, 20, and I will set on the following. 1, Kenya Vision 2030, devolution. Then which other topic did you cover today?
Globalization.
Globalization, yes, thank you. Thank you. So I'll set on those 3 topics: globalization, Kenya Vision 2030, and devolution.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for the good work. Thank you for the lecture. I also was this. We are also having the same week. That Wednesday we shall have a cut on EDF from 5:30 to 6:05. So maybe you can consider placing somewhere from 6:10 onwards, because some of us we shall be engaged in the other cut that Wednesday.
Or the very Wednesday.
Yes.
Now, suppose we do it on Thursday.
During
Yeah,
class
maybe
time,
when you
sir.
place, you can just put it on Thursday. It can work.
Thursday is okay.
Thursday we have the CUP.
Thursday at 5. Thursday we have another card.
Maybe you have it.
Now, okay. Now, can I give direction now? Now, let me give direction on that.
Yes.
And next week we shall do our cut during our normal class time.
Yes.
So get prepared from 11. So get prepared from 11. Okay.
Yeah.
Now finally, so far so good. We've been able to cover. Now I want you to mute. Kindly mute.
Okay.
So next week I'll do a summary of what we've covered in this course, just from the first topic to the last topic. And I want to call upon all of us to be present, to be online during that session. I'll just take like 1 hour to go through what we've been doing, what we've covered, and it's important for all of us. Remember that what we've covered is not just meant for passing the exam. It is for posterity purposes. And therefore, I want to request that all of us next week be there so that in case you missed 1 or 2 topics, then you'll not be disadvantaged. And again, I want to request that all of us, please, we attempt the cut, the online cut that we shall be having next week. I've had some students calling me and telling me I missed because I didn't have a gadget. I don't know, I was away. This time round, I want to request all of us that next week, please let all of us attempt the cut, because I don't want to get some calls thereafter. And therefore it's very strict. And remember, you'll not be allowed to sit for the main exam if you've not attempted all these cards. So it's important that you take these cards very seriously. And of course, after next week, I'll be doing the average of all the cards we've done. I think so far we've done about 4 cards, online cards. I'll be doing the average of all of them, and I'll be sharing our marks. I don't know if I'll be sharing to all of us, but it's important that I will share those marks so that in case you have any challenge, you can be able to see me before the main exam. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much for having done some thorough research. I've listened to some of your presentations today, and I must say I'm a proud teacher. And you guys, while we were maybe on strike, you were able to research, especially on the topics that I gave you. And this is I've gotten all this from what you've done, the presentations of today. And I want to say thank you so much. So let's meet next week, same time. And please pass my message to all other colleagues who are not on this platform today. We shall have our online cut next week. Thank you so much.
Kindly, sir.
Good afternoon.
Kindly, sir. Don't forget to
Yes.
share the note.
Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Somebody has a concern?
Don't forget to upload the notes on Devolved Government.
They are already there.
The notes are already there, but I'll check and see. Kindly, you can still access our notes on the LMS. Okay.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Walimu.
Yes.
Walimu.
Have a nice day.
We have done 3 cards, not 4.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Is okay.
Yeah,
We shall be doing the 4th one next week. We shall be doing the
Yes.
4th one next week.